And I look forward to this and seeing how this plays out. So California is making some changes to the rules surrounding weight cutting.
That was it.
I'm loading the page right now, and I'm just going to read from the page. This is on MMA Junkie, and so I'm going to go from here by the MMA Junkie staff, it says. So, good job to you guys. California approves 10-point weight cutting plan with big changes. The California State Athletic Commission has taken its most aggressive measure to date against extreme weight cutting. Today, passing a 10-point plan to curb the practice while protecting fighters. Now formalized in the Commission's rules are a steeper fine for missing weight, a 10% cap on weight a fighter is allowed to gain in the time between weigh-ins and event, and weight class restrictions for those who miss weight more than once. The Commission also recognizes 4 new weight divisions: 165, 175, 195, and 205 pounds. That CSAC Executive Director Andy Foster plans to present for approval at the Association of Boxing Commission annual meeting this summer. The 10-point plan, first proposed in March, was unanimously approved by a vote of 6-0 during a meeting today in Los Angeles. Foster, who authored the plan and serves as the chair of the ABC's medical committee, will begin implementing the changes on June 15th in advance of UFC 214, which takes place July 29th at Honda Center in Anaheim. Today's vote formalizes changes to the CSAC's duties that have been in the works since Foster made weight cutting a priority with the Commission. In March, the financial penalty for missing weight was increased when the Commission enacted a rule that allowed it to fine a license. That allowed it to fine a license 20% of both the show and win purse for missing weight, with the win fine going solely to the licensee's opponent. Early in 2016, the Commission banned the use of IV rehydration and required pre-fight hydration checks. Prior to today's meetings, the UFC, Bellator, and Invicta FC all endorsed the changes in letters to the Commission. This is in quotes here. This is what we came up with over the several years to properly address this issue, Foster said today before presenting the plan and screening a pair of documentaries that illustrate the dangers involved with weight cutting. The 10-point plan, which can be seen here, includes 1. Requesting MMA fighters to select the lowest weight class in which to compete, and asking questions about weight cutting and dehydration to take into consideration prior to approving fights. The listed division must be declared safe by a physician on a licensee's paperwork. 2. A contestant who fails to make weight is fined 20% of his or her show money, with 10% going to the Commission and 10% going to the opponent, in addition to a 20% fine of the contestant's win bonus, with all of the money going to the opponent. 3. 4 additional weight classes, 165, 175, 195, and 205, to give athletes more choices. 4. Policy changes to the way matches are approved with an emphasis on appropriate weight class. 5. Weight class restriction for fighters who miss weight more than once. Those fighters may be required to compete in a higher weight class until a physician certifies it's appropriate and the Commission approves. 6. Continued early weigh-in procedure to allow fighters the maximum amount of time to rehydrate. 7. A second weight check on the day of the event to ensure that fighters haven't gained back more than 10% of their body weight. Fighters who gain an excessive weight may be asked to move to a higher weight class. 8. Check for dehydration by specific urine gravity and or a physical by CSAC physicians. 9. A recommendation of a 30-day and 10-day weight check for high-level title fights, similar to those done by WBC in boxing matches. 10. Examination and education for matchmakers, promoters, trainers, and athletes on offering and accepting and contracting bouts. For more on the upcoming MMA schedule, check out the MMA Rumors section of the site. Wow. Bam. So what do you think about that?
I like it all except for multiple weight classes.
You and Dana White agree.
No, Dana White agrees.
Dana White responded and was like, I'm down. I like it. It sounds good. I'm not digging the weight classes though.
I guess for non-title fights, maybe they just do it and then they figure it out. You just can't have a championship. It's a non-championship weight class. You can't have two. Oh, fuck it. You know what I did want? There's one thing I did want to bring up now that we're on it.
Okay.
And this is a larger thing. We can get back to weight cutting specifically. Aldo versus Holloway, champion versus champion.
Oh yes, you texted me about that.
So many champions. Everyone is getting a championship now.
Yeah.
How can they both be? How can either of them, let alone both of them, be champion? A. And B, that ties into the increased weight class. I think that can destroy the sport, honestly.
I agree with you. I'll say this. I would rather there be champions for more weight classes
than just five championships
in the same weight class. Both of them I don't like.
Yeah.
But out of the two, multiple weight classes with different champions sounds better than champion and interim champion and the interims champion and the interims cubes champion, and like that I'm not digging. But yeah, with the weight cutting thing, I like the 10% body weight thing. That's interesting. So for example, if you're weighing in at 200, let's say you weigh in at 200, you can't gain more than 20 pounds back over the next day when you come to fight.
Can you think of any specific fights that would like nullify where like someone's just bigger and stronger than the other?
All of Anthony Rumble Johnson's fights before he came up to light heavy.
Although he did better at light heavy, so
yeah, and that was closer to his natural weight. He was cutting massive amounts of weight.
In a funny way, it worked in reverse, because I think a lot of people, what people think is that is good to stop people from basically just being much bigger than their opponent and just beating them up because they're bigger. But with some guys, they actually get better when you stop them from being underweight.
Yeah. Well, I think the concern with the athletic commission is less on whether it's fair competitively and more what it does to the health of the fighter. So the increased risk of concussion, how it works on the endocrine system and the organs and all that. I think that's the bigger worry. Who else would drop a bunch of weight? Tyron Woodley.
I was literally thinking of Tyron Woodley.
Tyron Woodley.
He's big boy for that 170.
Yeah, he is. What's his name? With the beard. Big Rig. He was champ. Fought.
Everyone's champ. I don't know that.
He just moved up to 185. Johnny Hendricks.
Oh yeah.
Johnny Hendricks was cutting a lot of weight.
Yeah, I heard.
Gastelum.
He doesn't look like he cut. Yeah, Gastelum's a different story, but Hendricks didn't look like he cut that much weight. He was interesting because usually it's the ripped dudes, because muscle holds a lot of water, so it's kind of easier to cut when you're like really, really lean. And it's interesting. You never really know what these people are. And it's good that they're checking on the day.
Yeah,
just so that we now know, like, yo, this is fair. These guys are around about the same weight.
I think I would like them to do this minus the weight cuts. See how? I'm sorry, not weight cuts. Minus the extra divisions.
Yeah.
See how it plays out.
Yeah, I don't think they needed to do all of that at the same time.
Yeah,
that's 10 points is a lot of points. I think they needed maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Conor was another one who was at 145. No one really knew if he was that good because he was just so much bigger and stronger than everyone.
That's true.
Like Aldo was really a midget next to him. If you really look at them next to each other and in his reach and stuff, you didn't really know how good he was until he came into the lightweight division.
Speaking of Aldo and reach, real quick before we wrap things up, who do you have on Holloway versus Aldo?
Champion versus champion.
Yes, which champion remains champion?
I think the champion remains champion. I'm going to say Holloway because he's on a 20-fight win streak, and I don't know where Aldo is, but it's going to be a very good fight because Aldo's last fight was pretty good.
I concur.